artistry of Éva Polgár is characterized by clarity, conviction, and virtuosity. Critics praise her for her intelligent interpretation, capability of fully entering the spirit of narrating a story, and vibrant technique. Her dedication to her native Hungarian culture resulted in researching Bela Bartók's piano arrangements of his original orchestral compositions and specializing in Franz Liszt music. Polgár has won top prizes in competitions, including the Los Angeles International Liszt Competition. She is now a co-director of this competition, which empowers her to foster young musicians at the early stage of their professional careers. A committed educator and adjudicator, she has appeared at masterclasses, festivals, and competitions such as the Los Angeles International Liszt Competition, the Bogota International Festival in Colombia, Tulsa University's Summer Piano Academy in Oklahoma, Florida International University in Miami, Montclair State University in New Jersey, and many more. A graduate of the Franz Liszt Academy of Music and Sibelius Academy, Polgár earned her Doctor of Musical Arts degree in piano performance at the University of North Texas. Éva is currently on the piano faculty at Azusa Pacific University. Before joining the piano faculty there, she taught at Texas Women's University and at the University of North Texas. We hope you enjoy this interview, and be sure to stick around until the end for information about the first Radda International Piano Competition, an online competition for young pianists 18 years old and under, with many unique educational opportunities and cash prizes. Hello everyone, welcome to this Radda interview. Today I have the wonderful pianist, Dr. Éva Polgár, and today she's going to tell us about her musical experience, and then we're also going to talk a lot about competitions and how she thinks they play an important role for young pianists. So welcome, Éva. How are you doing today?
Hi, Michelle. I'm very, very good. And it's such a great pleasure to be invited to do this interview with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course.
I hope that there will be some good points that I can share, and that will be helpful to
Yeah.
our
So why don't you just give us a quick overview about who you are, where you teach, things like that.
I come from Hungary, so I'm originally from Hungary and right now living in the United States in California. But my first destination in the US was Texas. And even before that, I made a little detour to Finland. And so what I love about my journey from Hungary through Finland to Texas and then to California is the multicultural experience that I had and that I could somehow bring together in my music and in my personality of who I am and how I see the world and how I interact with musicians from all around the globe. And the music school I started learning piano was a very small one. My hometown is in the Danube Bend. It's a beautiful, scenic little town, great for artists that always had and is still having a very vivid arts life. Painters are coming to paint. We have poets living in the town. We have concert series going on. So merging into music was almost a natural thing because I developed the desire to become a musician very early on, seeing everybody kind of having or cultivating the same art form. So, and there were not too many instruments. Piano was one of the offering, and there was flute, and there was violin, and I was just attracted to this big black monster. I was just so tiny, and I wanted to conquer it, and I'm still conquering it. And and the Liszt Academy had a huge impact on me because that gave my foundation and my heritage and my roots in Béla Bartók, Zoltán Kodály, Franz Liszt. So I already had an identity when I went on to Finland to get my master's degree there. So when I went back to Hungary to teach in a music school and merge into music education, I honestly felt that something was missing. And then I started pursuing my doctoral degree, and I chose the United States because I wanted to have more learning experience. And Professor Adam Wojnicki at University of North Texas was my best choice because he's not only a phenomenal artist, but he also shares the musical aesthetics that Hungarians have. So I felt like home in his studio. And of course, my last stage, California, is where I lead a piano competition and where I receive my first major academic position.
Mm-hmm. So exciting. And so have you always wanted to do music ever since you were little? Like you knew you were going to do it professionally, or was there a certain turning point where you're like, I have to do this. This is what I need to do.
My teacher started taking me to master classes when she thought that she's more talented than I am, more talented than what she could navigate as a teacher. She felt that I overgrew certain elements in her teaching, and she felt that she needed other professors too to shape my craft. And then I started entering the music master classes, the piano competitions, private lessons that teachers from the Liszt Academy, and that felt like this is something serious. And then I just happened to find myself in the piano auditions. Of course, attending master classes, you meet like-minded kids, and that gives you the power of we are in this together. And that when I have an idea, I have something to say about music. If I did that in my regular elementary classroom, nobody would understand me. But then those students I was together with in the summer, they really shared the same interest, and that was such a strong and positive experience that after a while it was no question that I'm choosing music for living.
Hmm. It's awesome. Yeah, I had a very similar experience. Like once I started getting around kids my age that loved classical music, I was like, I'm done. This is what I'm going to do. So you mentioned that you did competitions when you were younger. So like what age did you start doing them?
I started doing them when I was 8 and 9,
Hmm.
and there was always potential. And what we don't know as a child that a competition result does not determine who we are.
Hmm.
And we easily label ourselves according to the listing and the ranking of a competition. Like if I didn't make it to the finals, then I felt that I'm lesser of a pianist than the other person. But along the way, I started noticing that I was still in competition. I was still in master class. I was entering the music centered high school in Hungary. We have a separate system for that. And some names who had big achievements when they were, 8 and 9, and they were my competition, all of a sudden they were nowhere because they didn't have the perseverance, or they didn't have the desire, they did not have the drive. So it was a healthy balance, and it again needed the right mentors to explain to me that if I enter a competition because I want to win, it can take me that far because that's a driving force, but that should not be my ultimate goal.
Hmm.
What competition serve the right purpose when you know that it is an opportunity to grow. And that started changing my mindset around competitions. There is a famous quote by Béla Bartók himself, who says that competition is for horses, which is true because it can kill some of your personality or flame that and passion that you have inside for music. On the other hand, again, if you turn it around and treat it in its place where it belongs, it's a fabulous opportunity to meet people, to meet professors who will potentially become important part of your life and career, friends, mentors, people who will write you the recommendation letters in that time of our lives. um, they give you advice. You meet your peers. Again, there is an element of camaraderie, and that we are in this together. you learn to cheer for others. You learn that everybody have their own track and path and destiny, and we are not comparable to each other. And perhaps in one competition, somebody who wins in another competition would not get necessarily to the final, because also what is important to know is that this is a subjective form of art. And when a set of judges is sitting in and evaluating performers, they have their own sound aesthetic. They have their own elements that they are listening and looking for in a contestant. And that might be a completely different set of guidelines and qualities than what another set of judges will consider most important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And competitions, luckily, the abundance of musical work today in concerts, in competitions, in performance opportunities, this is something to be thankful for, because everybody will really find their own place and the platform where he or she will flourish.
Mm-hmm. I love how you mentioned that competitions can be an opportunity for growth, because I know a lot of people, they hear competition, they're like, oh, I have to win or else it's pointless for me to pursue that, which it can be, like you said, really detrimental to the career and what they end up doing, because they just get so shut down. So, okay, so you're involved in a competition out in California. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that competition?
This is an interesting path, actually, because I'm not sure if many people will have the same experience, because the competition is named after Franz Liszt. So I have a personal interest in advocating for the Hungarian culture, Hungarian heritage in the United States. And the competition itself was founded already in 1990 by two Liszt enthusiasts and researcher, Geraldine Killing and Judith Neslényi. And in 2012, I attended this competition. And by that time, my only goal was, I'm getting to the upper age limit of entering competitions, but I have the repertoire. I entered 2 Liszt competitions in Budapest and 1 in Poland, and again, I always got to a level, and I got quite far in those competitions, but no real breakthrough. And the pressure by the time I entered the American Liszt competition, the pressure of wanting to achieve something that can be put on a certificate was over. I just wanted to come out here to California and play my repertoire and just to do my best. And all of a sudden, as I was a little more flexible, I was expecting less from the competition and from myself, that freed me to an upper level of delivery. I felt more like I'm performing in a concert when you can connect with your audience, rather than feeling narrowed into a level of expectation.
Yeah.
And so that brought the result, and then all of a sudden there I was with the first prize. And otherwise the atmosphere of the competition felt very friendly, extremely friendly, like no other competition. And then I wanted to give back to the competition. So they took me on a wonderful tour. I received orchestral performance opportunities. I performed in the Gewandhaus zu Leipzig, which is one of the first and oldest historic concert houses of Europe. Incredible things happened after winning this competition. So it was really a true career opener for me. And so the motivation to give back grew stronger and stronger until I became a volunteer, and then an assistant director, and then a director. It's the personal aspect and the human aspect that makes this competition different from others, I think. and the concerts that we organize afterwards, and that not only the first three prize winners are honored with concert invitations, but we try to widen that circle and feature different pianists at different occasions. Like many competitions, but not all, we ask our jury members to write comment sheets, to write their comments on the comment sheets, and we send them out. So students could actually really see what they can work on for the future. And if they receive a great endorsement from someone, they could also use that later on their website, on a CD, in a news feature, anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I know a lot of competitions you get like no feedback at all, and so it can be a little tricky to really gain a lot from it. So we're also have our own competition going on right now through Radda. So for anybody that's looking to compete in that, what kind of advice would you give them in preparing for it? And it's a little different because it's a online competition with pre-recorded entries. But yeah, what would you tell students as they're preparing for this?
Yes, I will categorize my advices into two parts. One is the musical and the artistic element and preparation, which is when people practice, we have the technical devices around us now more than ever, and students could record themselves and listen to their own playing back, because we are our best teachers. When I hear comments from my professors, I take them seriously and I work them into my performance. But when I hear myself and I just imagine that, sure, I did what I was asked to do or what I imagined myself to do, but it does not come through the recording. That is a challenge. And since this is an e-competition and a recording gives you a different experience than sitting in a concert hall and having a real-time experience, I think what you can learn from listening yourself back and how we really have to go for a large spectrum of soft is super soft, loud is super loud. The projection has to be there. So it's refining and defining and polishing the qualities to the extreme for a listener to hear the qualities that we stand for, and the content that we stand for. So recording yourself many times before, practicing slowly, honestly.
I'll go back to that.
And then just take your music away from the piano and read the composer's instructions and intentions and just think. Because the closer we get to a competition, we already know the notes. We have the tempo. We have the package, but we tend to distance ourselves from the score because we think that we already know it. So then connecting back to the source has real value. And then another one, and of course for the younger contestants, when they look at the score, they see their teacher's markings that they often forget of what it was. So, it is valuable no matter the age you are. Another important thing is how you present yourself on video camera. Wearing a nicer attire. I saw in the past, especially younger students, wearing a beautiful, cute outfit, but they had slippers.
Yeah.
So that gives a mixed feeling, and that takes away the judge's attention from actually listening to the performer. So I think having a professional outfit in that sense honors the music, honors the competition, honors the judge, and then I can really just concentrate on what the music is going to tell. Plus, just that type of a confidence of the posture of a pianist tells a lot. When you see someone sitting up straight, thinking before playing, like not just starting the recording when it's already time to play, but you can tell the intellectual, the mental process that a pianist puts into that preparation before you play, what you think about. That makes a huge impact. It's recorded, and all of a sudden you're exposed.
Yeah. So you've covered a lot of the general things about making the recordings, which is really valuable feedback. So as a judge that's judged competitions yourself, what about the performance in particular, especially if students are doing the same pieces and you hear like the same piece over and over? What really sets the students apart for them to be able to stand out among the crowd in their performances?
Yeah, but sometimes you hear performers being a little too metronomic, a little too like counting, where pianists lose the essence of delivering character. And I think what's most beautiful and can distinguish performance from one another is when you try not to copy a recording. Definitely trying to copy Horowitz would be a suicide. But you sometimes would hear people saying that, well, didn't you like my crescendo? That was Giles's crescendo. It's like you do not copy someone else. Having your own ideas. For younger age students, what can be their own thing is if they create a story around their music. Because then the notes come to life. Then a crescendo can be frightening, or a piano can be mysterious. So finding those words and finding a storyline that can borrow tone color to one's sound on the piano, that is immensely valuable. Giving time. When you're an older performer, college age student, perhaps you don't have to rely on a storyline anymore, but being very thoughtful about what you do, and definitely going for warmth in the sound, how you produce the tone. There is a huge difference between forte and forte, right? If you hit the keyboard just from the lower arm down, it gives a harsh sound. When you use your entire body, that gives a full orchestral sound. And I think it comes back to tone color and singing lines and content delivery that will show your personality and that will at the same time honor the composer's intent. Those are the most important things for me. Contestants are sometimes preoccupied by the wrong notes. So let's say they play for 5 minutes at their best and then they hit a wrong note, and not always, but they make a facial like grimace, as we'd say. And then again, you start thinking about, oh, it's too bad he noticed it for himself. So overcoming the little glitches that might happen, because it's not going to determine my evaluation of a performer. If there's a wrong note, if there is any little dust like that, but if you're convincing, it's what counts at the end. And I share the opinion of others too. It's that singing, that building the lines, how far you take a sentence, having the imagination and staying in the presence, but knowing your roadmap of the entire piece.
Yeah, I love that. So what do you think is the best way for somebody to build a professional music career?
It's a very good question. I think that the older we get, the more we know. And I certainly wish to change some things I used to do in my past as a younger student. There's a misconception that the more we practice, the further we will get in our career.
Mm-hmm.
It is true, but it's not exclusively true, because if we look ourselves into our own track and our own practice room for 8-10 hours a day, we will be incredible pianists, but who are we going to share it with?
Mm-hmm.
So being aware of your environment, being curious of your classmates and of other performers, of what they do, how they do it, being open-minded, going to concerts, going to art exhibits, reading literature that belongs to especially the 19th century music literature, when we had so many composers with program music, or inspiration from other art forms, to have a broad knowledge will fill our playing and our imagination with content and experience that we can share.
Mm-hmm.
If we are not in love, we don't know how to express love. If we don't experience pain because we put ourselves out there in the world, we don't know. If a teacher asks us, okay, do you remember something very painful in your life? Now show me that in this part of the piece you play. Then you just sit there and there's nothing to express. So to build your personality, your curiosity, and your network is quite essential, because there is no magic line that we graduate and then we start our career.
Mm-hmm.
And we grow into it and we build a bridge into it.
Another thing going off that too, you mentioned building out your network. So I know, especially as pianists, since we're in a practice room by ourselves all day long, compared to other musicians that do more ensemble stuff, it can be hard for us to build out our network. So what are some good ways to really build out those connections? Because those are really important in creating your career, because a lot of it comes down to who you know and when you know them.
Correct. It is that, yes, we are very lonely in the practice room. So I was very lucky because the Liszt Academy had a huge chamber music program. So early on, I was put together with other artists
Mm-hmm.
for class credit, but I also recognized the value, the added value of this is fun. We are creating together. And then at UNT, I did more chamber music, and then you have instrumentalists coming to you asking you to collaborate with them. So that's when we explore. I think for me it was primarily through chamber music, when the world opened up to the other instruments and voice, and learning from them in shaping on the piano. So that was a revelation. Plus, I was building friendships, lasting friendships that now I have also as professional connections. Do never forget about your mentors.
Mm-hmm.
It can be just one phone call a year, but they will love that you're still contacting them and that you still feel them being important. I had piano teachers when they were 100-year-old and still having important messages to tell me, because Livia Rave, I'm talking about, she belonged to the golden age of pianists. And then just attending the concerts. And when you go to a concert, go and talk to the artist. Express that you liked what he did, or what you liked. If there was one thing that stood out for you, and they are going to remember you. It's just such an open world we live in. And my colleagues and friends would write me thank you notes after I accompanied them in a concert. And it's a sentiment, but it means so much. It exactly means that people value who you are and what you do, and it takes you even further on your career.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope our audience can get a lot of valuable insight and advice as they're preparing for competitions, especially since we talked about that a lot. So thank you so much again, Ava.
Thank you very much, Mishan. Good luck for everyone who's preparing for a competition at this time.